Track wrestling here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania for the 2019 NCAA Championships with the architect
Mandalay Industries
of the 2019 Division I Championship Preview Guide, PA voice of the NCAA Championships, Jason Bryant.
What's up?
Let's talk about this thing, Jason.
All right, so this actually started. First thing, it is the glorious Division I Preview Guide. It's 214 pages. It's optimized for your tablet. So as you go, you flip through. What's cool is I've even designed it to where, like, your table of contents, I want to find out 157. I'm going to go to 157. Boom, it jumps right to it. So it's like it's an interactive PDF document. So when you get set, everything you want, every bio, every wrestler, even for Sparks here, we even got pronunciations, so he's not going to screw up Parker Kropman's name. It's not Krotman, it's Kropman, so pronunciations are in there. Every result through the year, hometown, so that's just the nuts and bolts of it. Through this thing, I've created it. This is the 6th year I've done it. The 5th year kind of on my own. The 1st year was when I was with Amateur Wrestling News, and we created it for subscribers. And then when I broke off and created Mat Talk Online, it's like I've got all this data. I was doing it anyway. I was like, well, let's put a price point on it, see if anybody buys it. And at that time, my relationship with Jerry Daniels at ESPN was good because I'd been a stats gopher for them prior. And then the Mat Side broadcasters with Live Sports Radio in the venue were working with them. I think they're called E3 is their technical term here in the arena. Started picking them up, and after a while, the ESPN's like, hey, can you print these up? And so we printed a couple up, and then it basically became, I put the guide out, I sent it to ESPN, I sent it to the NCAA. They get their copies because they help me with access to certain things that make this thing tick. And then Mat Side Scoring, I know you're a partner in crime, Shane Sparks, behind you. Just basically, he says, I tell you, Bryant, if there's one thing I take home with me every year, it's that book. I tell you. Okay, go Braves. Hank Aaron. So that's kind of the genesis of how it started, and now it's gotten to the point where it's a year-long thing. Yeah, granted, a lot of it comes from Selection Wednesday, I guess in our case, or Selection Tuesday when the numbers come out and the names come out, and then we got to get the draws. So digging up 330 bios in 2 days, there is an all-nighter. Yeah, it was one night. It was Thursday night. I was trying to get it out, so I didn't sleep Thursday night. Woke up, 7:30, pushed it out for 12 o'clock, and then when you pull those type of things, you catch little errors along the way. But thankfully, the supporters of the Mat Talk Podcast Network, who support the program, all the programs, Short Time, and all the team shows, they contribute, and they got an advanced copy of it, which was a perk of being a member. And they found a couple errors, so I think I made like 18 corrections over it in the last 3-4 days, which is nice because the calendar the way it is, when I print this thing up for the NCAA and ESPN, they're not going to be in the book, whereas the normal calendar we'd have a 2-day turnaround. So after coming off of D3s and then to get this thing out by Tuesday usually puts a strain on my blood pressure, my sleep, my children's sleeping habits, and my wife's propensity for making cups of coffee. So that's again the short-long version of it.
What are 2 or 3 of the really cool nuggets in there that you're most proud of?
This year, I'm going to go back to my table of contents to jump right to the page because it was putting up the blood round statistics, and that's something I played around with the idea of what to do with it. And of course, those of you that might know that the blood round podcast exists, I tied them into it a little bit, put their logo on it. But the blood round statistics are where we at things that are not the fun stuff. It's the stats that nobody really wants to talk about because they're generally the ugly part of the sport. So when we go to it, the number of teams that have guys that lost in that round. Like right now I can tell you Oklahoma State has 55 wrestlers to have lost in that round since 1979. And the reason I use that is because that's the year we went to the full wrestlebacks. It plays to 8, and then we have wrestlebacks and those guys lose. And then we also have the amount of wrestlers who have lost in the first round and come all the way back. So that's also in here. Also, like the unfortunate situations of how many guys were 3-time All-Americans and lost their senior year, did not place. Not necessarily blood round, but I think some people might remember one of the most recent. Dean Heil happened to him. Matt McDonough happened to him. But and of those, how many of those guys were national champions? That stuff's in here. The biggest point spreads between champions and the second place team. So the idea behind this is to have that question answered. You're sitting at the bar with your buddies arguing. No, it was this guy. No, it was Kortnick. No, you're wrong. It was this wins bar bets. This saves families. This helps people win their picks contest. It's just there's so much stuff in here that I'm just trying to think of things each year, like, what do I want to know? What would, if I'm sitting here in the stands, if I'm sitting here on press row, or if I'm sitting here as a broadcaster and I have a question, I don't want to sit there and try to dig up something, with time. I don't have that time to search all that stuff out. Well, I've saved you the time. So, what team, what state has the most All-Americans? Which high school has the most representation here? All that type of stuff is in here, and it's year in, year out, and I just keep trying to add more stuff to it, and it's sometimes to a detriment of my sleep, but sometimes I'll unearth something. I'll text Kyle Klingman at the Gable Museum and be like, dude, check out what I just dug up, and I get excited about being able to put this stuff together. So it's just the digital thing. It's the fact that also helps me as an announcer, me and Brian Hazard. This is our research. And it's something that, I know that I'm not relying on anybody else's data, because if there's something wrong in here, I know I did it and I know where to fix it. It's one of those things, kind of like, Ultra Control Freak plus our research, and ultimately me and Brian have access to it, and with the media having access to it, I give the working media a discount on it so they can get it, and it's just really something I love putting together. It's a grind, but it's something that I feel like there's 16,000 and change that are going to be here this weekend in Pittsburgh, and I feel that 16,000 and change should have it in their hands. It's not a printed publication. It is geared for your iPad, your tablet, but it also looks great on your smartphone. So I know that people have got those bigger phones now, the iPhone Pluses and such, and the giant Samsung Galaxies, but I've got an iPhone 8. I downsized from the 6 Plus, and it's easy to sit through and sort through like there, because the way the component for each athlete, it fills up your screen completely. I mean, yeah, you have to do a little bit of the pinching and squeezing, but everything's in there. It's formatted for digital, and it's easy to download and purchase. So in this case, I got a promo code TRACK. So if you go to wrestlingpreviewguide.com/track, that'll save you $5, which I normally charge $19.99 for. People have told me I could charge more for it, but I want everybody to have access to it, and that's why there's promo codes out there left and right. If you listen to my podcast, you hear them. If you listen to On the Mat with Andy and Kyle Klingman, you hear them. So the point is not like I'm trying to make this like I need to retire on my preview guide. No, I just want everybody to have access to it, and make sure that it's something that they can get and they get some value out of, and I get some value out of it putting it together each year.
What all is new this year?
Oh, geez. So, like I said, the blood round stats, the number of wrestlers who were 3-time round of 12s who have been in that round. That blood round, it's like there are guys, and there are, let's see, up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 guys that are in that round 3 times and finally placed at least once. The last one was George DiCamillo, who went round of 12, round of 12, round of 12, finals. Whew, that's good. So, new stuff this year again. We've got a deeper breakdown. There's some reorganization of how I did the decade stuff. I've also I kept the seeding stuff in here. We've got unseeded guys that are no longer unseeded. Statistics are relevant, but I kept them in for historical purposes, because everybody wants to know Mark Branch. Everybody wants to know those unseeded guys who go out and win it and picks things like that. I've also tweaked the way multiple champions per team. So now, like last year, Ohio State had 8 All-Americans. Like, where does that stack up? And then compare that to how many times that's been done by teams that didn't win it. You can find all that type of stuff. Updates each year. Which current teams have the longest streak of national championships or All-Americans? Next year I'm going to break out qualifiers. Didn't have a time to do that this year. Also, I have the qualifier totals for the last 10 years for each school. So you can trend on how is this team doing. Like Campbell this year set an all-time record with 6 guys at the tournament. Well, how did they do in the previous 10 years? How were they before Kerry Colott got here? Or where's the difference? You see that. Unfortunately, it also shows you where the teams have been dropped over the years. But where the teams have been added over the years, because like Fresno State's back in there, but Duquesne's just around the corner. You see a line for Duquesne, it goes 0, 1, 1, dropped, and that's an unfortunate part about what that stat highlights. But we've also got the all-time, every 2-time champ, every 3-time champ, every 4-time champ, every 4-time finalist, which these are questions that come up every single year. So. The new stuff, it usually gets added, the total number of experiences. Last year I was really happy that I have every single senior that was a first-time qualifier. Every qualifier every wrestler that's been a 4-time qualifier and how they've done. All-Americans from other divisions. Demetrius Thomas from right here at Pitt, he's a 2-time NAIA finalist. He was national champion as a freshman. How many people actually know that? I mean, they just know that this guy, where did he come from, the NAIA? Yeah, the 2 people in the room know that. But where did Jacoby Smith? Where was he a junior college champ? Northeast Oklahoma A&M. That stuff is in here. So, did people know that Cole Werner was an All-American at the junior college level for Western Wyoming? He's out there at 125 for Wyoming. Anybody know that? It's one of those questions. So, a lot of stats, a lot of pronunciations, a lot of just basically, you sit here and you're going to sit here in the stands with your phone or your iPad and be like, hey, did you know that Nick Piccinini has the most technical falls at 125 pounds? I think we should pick him in our fantasy league. You know? Oh, wait, no. Piccinini's an easy question. So let's see. You're looking for a late round value pick. Josh Turao has 9 technical falls. Low seed, you can get a good value out of that. So it's those, and let's see. Well, while we're at most bonus victories, let's give another free one out there. Torao's 20 bonus victories. Josh Turao is a great late round pickup if you need somebody at like that below 10 seed position. So like all that type of stuff is in here. I do not advocate the gambling, but this could probably help you if you're into that kind of thing.